What's up? My name is Luke, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Onewheel GT series, Future Motion's latest flagship board, and we're going to discover if it really lives up to the expectations. So what can the board do? According to Future Motion's guidelines, the GT series can go 25 miles an hour and it has a predicted range between 16 and 25 miles. It's the perfect board for those people that demand the ultimate performance from a Future Motion Onewheel. So what does the GT promise to do? Well, it's faster and more powerful, and the way they've achieved this is it has a state-of-the-art 113 volt battery pack in the back of the board that delivers so much power and so much torque so you can bomb uphill and go full speed with more confidence that there's more in the reserve. If you do hit a pothole or anything like that, the board has more power to catch you. By having that power, you have the ultimate blend of torque, speed and control. With the entirely redesigned battery and BMS and powertrain, the board is actually 50% more powerful than its predecessor, the GT. Something that is important to me is weight, and luckily the GT series delivers there as well. The GT series is lighter than the GT by 2 pounds. What does make it feel lighter under feet is because of the power, so it does give the illusion of it being much lighter even though it's only slightly lighter, because the board moves much more effortlessly. The board is also lower, so Future Motion have used different foot pads compared to the GT. They're less concave, which means you're sitting lower with a lower center of gravity, which helps with any wobbles that you would have experienced on a GT. Another thing that's different on the GT series is how it comes out of the box. With a GT, you would have a slick or treaded as an option when you purchase the board, but with a GT it comes with their performance tyre as standard, and this tyre is leagues above what you get with a GT as standard. The reason why this tyre is leagues above the GT tyres as standard as stock is the GT series uses a soft compound tyre. Now, why this is so important is a soft compound means when you're riding over rough terrain, the tyre can soak up the bumps and keep you planted and helps keep the power down, but also from a trick point of view, that soft tyre means it's going to, if you're doing a big drop, it's going to soak up the landing much better than a stock GT tyre would, and it's 7 inches wide, so it's a really stable tyre, but I really like the profile. It's the perfect blend of stable, and it also can be playful. When you get on the corners, it's really manoeuvrable. Another thing that the GT series has straight out of the box is custom shaping. The GTs didn't used to have this, but there has now been an update so the GTs can have the same custom shaping, but what this custom shaping allows is for you to tweak how the board will ride so it's perfect for you. You can tune your aggressiveness profile so you can decide how much compensation and how much dynamic response you want so the board rides the way you want it to, which is great because not everyone wants to ride a board that feels exactly the same, so you can make it perfect for you. And this is all made possible in the Onewheel app with Custom Shaping 3.0. Something that I do like coming from a GT owner is that the accessories are cross-compatible, so you can use the same foot pads, bumpers, rail guards, anything like that. It's all transferable, which is great. The only part with the GTS that you couldn't use on a GT is the charger, because that charger is higher voltage to be able to charge that higher voltage battery pack. The GTS takes 150 minutes to charge, or 80 minutes using the hypercharger, so it's pretty quick considering how many miles that'll get you. What drives the GT series is their new tuned motor. Now this hypercore motor has been tweaked to run perfectly with the GTS, but what's interesting is Future Motion now sells the GTS motor separately, so you could put it on a GT because it uses the same motor connection. So you can upgrade your GT with the GTS motor, but remember, it will not be the same. What really gives the GTS its insane power is from the 113 volt battery pack. So let's talk about how the GT and GTS compare. So as we've discussed, they have different tyres, they have different batteries, 113 volts in the GTS and 75 in the GT. They have different foot pads, they have different colorways on the side and a different motor. So there are really quite a few differences. But I ask, is that enough for the price difference? A GT is $2,300 and a GTS series is $3,200. So that $900 increase, is it really worth it? Now, Obviously, battery technology is expensive, so having 113 volts of power in a Onewheel in that size, you can see why that's costly. If, let's say, the GTS was around 2.5 grand, I think that'd be more achievable for some people, because I just feel the GTS, it's so awesome, but it is such a hit to buy something of that money. So that is something to think about. And the GT is not a bad board. I've been riding GTs for a very long time now, and they're pretty awesome. You know, the power is still a huge upgrade over a 60 volt XR or Pint X. So the power is, again, really awesome on a GT anyway. Obviously nothing like a GTS. But one thing to really think about is, what do you want? Do you want super high performance, or do you want to be able to go on further adventures? So this is the decision. A GTS is going to be way more powerful. It's going to do the miles faster, but it's going to run out faster. Whereas a GT, having an estimated range up to 32 miles, you can go much further on a GT. So that's something to consider, what you really want out of the board. But hey, if you can afford it, then I definitely recommend getting one, because they are absolutely awesome. A GT and a GTS are the ultimate combination. You have a range king and a speed king. When you compare how the two boards ride, the GTS is definitely on a whole nother level. The main difference is that acceleration and what it feels like at speed. So when you look at this video now, you can see how the GTS, which I'm riding, and then the GT on the left hand side, how there's such a difference. The GTS absolutely destroys the GT on a drag race. It's faster off the line almost immediately, and because of its pushback threshold being at 25, not 20 on a GT, the GT is simply not able to catch it without pushing through the pushback. So the GTS definitely feels like a whole new beast at speed. It feels so solid at 25, and you can feel that the software is what's stopping it at 25, and if you do keep pushing, it has much more left in the tank. And it's the same story on hill climbs. Looking at this low speed climb, which requires a lot of torque, you can see how, because the GTS has a bigger battery, which can pull more voltage, and a different motor that has been tuned by Future Motion, you can see how it can get up that hill where the GT really struggles. Now, to be completely transparent, you can get up that hill on a GT, you just need more speed. But we did the same speed to show the difference. I also think that the tyre is so much better on the GTS. Now, what I've done, as you can see from my GT next to me, is I've changed the tyre. I did not like the tyres that come with the GT out of the box. They are too hard. But I now have a Float Life Enduro, and I think the Enduro is still better than the Future Motion tyre that comes on the GTS, but they're very similar because they're both soft tyres. The main difference is this is 6.5 inches wide, and the Future Motion GTS tyre that comes as standard is 7 inches wide. And they're both a hybrid of slick and treaded. Just to reiterate, more voltage means more power, and it is safer. So when you're going along at 20 to 25 miles an hour on any terrain, you can feel much more comfortable on the GTS, because number one, if you're trying to do 22 on a GT, you'd be fighting the pushback. And now with the GTS, you can happily sit at 23, 24 and just touching 25 before the pushback will kick in. So when you're going over big, rooty, rough terrain, that 113 volts is so powerful to keep pulling you over those routes and keeping the board level. And when you're on the streets, it feels so comfortable cruising along at 24, 25 miles an hour. And more power also means you have stronger brakes, so you can stop on a dime when you really need to. Now, who is this board for? Well, if you're a person that likes to do tricks, because of the lighter board it will be better. If you're someone that likes to go full send in the streets and on the trails, you are going to love the GTS. With that extra power, it does feel like an absolute weapon when you're riding. But if you're someone that wants to go on longer adventures, I wouldn't recommend the GTS, simply because to make that battery so much more powerful, it's smaller and lighter. Now, obviously the trade-off to that is you're losing range. So if you're someone that wants to go on long adventures, the GT is still the better option in my opinion. So there we are, those are my thoughts and review on the Onewheel GTS series. It's definitely an absolute weapon. And if you want the ultimate shredding machine, look no further than the GTS. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you have, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.